Jordan. So today I'm going to be showing you 5 different ways you can make shirts for back to school by using tie-dye. And yes, this shirt is one of the ones that I made, but there's 4 other ones that I think are super cute for back to school. So if you like this video, then don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel by clicking that red button down below. Also, I understand that there's a lot of dress codes for different schools, and my school doesn't really have a dress code, which is why I made a few shirts that are tank tops, even though it does have 2 fingers, which is I know that some people like that's a dress code for some schools. I don't know what your dress code is, but if any of these don't fit your dress code, then you can definitely not cut the shirts or cut them longer or make the sleeves longer. There's so many different possibilities that you can do so that your new clothes can fit your dress code. So without further ado, let's just get started with this video. So this first shirt is probably the easiest, and I'm just starting off with a plain white tank top and some rubber bands. Then I'm just pinching a corner of the tank top and rubber banding that together, and then I'm kind of going down along the whole tank top and adding rubber bands along the way. And you can do as many or as few rubber bands as you want, and I kept them about 1 inch apart, but once you're done it should look something like this. And then I went outside to add the dye to it. But before you add the dye, make sure to get the whole thing wet and saturated first, and then you can go ahead and add the dye. And I just decided to do one color because I think that looked cool. And then you're going to set that aside for 6 to 8 hours, rinse it off, then throw it in the washing machine and let it dry. And then this is what mine came out to look like. And you could totally leave it how it is like this, but I just decided to cut it to make it a little bit shorter. And so I first drew a line where I wanted it to be cut, and then I just used some fabric scissors and cut it across, and then this is what it came out to look like, and I think it came out super cute. This next shirt is a little bit harder, but I think the design came out super cool and it's still really easy. So I'm starting with a plain white t-shirt, and then I'm scrunching up the middle of the shirt. You can scrunch up wherever you want to start off with, and then I'm adding a rubber band to that. And then I'm going to be doing kind of the same thing that I did to the other shirt, but I'm only adding rubber bands in a row. So I'm adding about 5 rubber bands about 1 inch or so apart, and then I'm leaving a big gap, and then adding 5 more rubber bands, and then leaving a big gap, and then adding 5 more. So it creates this kind of cool pattern, and you'll see what it does with the tie-dye, which looks awesome. Then after you're done and you've gotten it wet, you can go ahead and add your tie-dye, and I decided to do an ombre, so I added red at the bottom or the top and then black at the bottom, and I kind of faded the 2 together and made sure that it was really saturated. And then I waited 6 to 8 hours again, threw it in the washing machine, and it came out like this. Then again, I just decided to cut it to make it a little bit shorter, and I also cut the neckline and I cuffed the sleeves. And then if you pair it with any high-waisted shorts, I think it looks super cute. This next shirt is probably the hardest because it's supposed to look like a yin-yang sign, which is a little bit difficult, but I think it came out pretty cool. So the first thing I'm doing with this is taking a highlighter or any light colored marker you can use, and I'm drawing out where I want the yin-yang sign to be, just so I have a guide. Then along the line in the middle, I'm going to be kind of scrunching it up at like an accordion style fold and continuing to keep the line right in the middle as I'm scrunching it. Then I'm adding a rubber band around that. And then moving on to the circles for the yin-yang sign, I'm going to be adding rubber bands around each of those circles. So now the hard part is when you actually tie-dye this, you don't want to get the dye on the part that you want to stay white. So what I did was I used a glove and I put that around the part that I wanted to stay white, and then I poked a hole for the little circle to go through, so you can still dye the circle but keep the rest of it white. So then on the other side, I held my fingers over the circle that needed to stay white, and I added dye to the rest of it, and then I added dye to that little circle that was sticking out of the glove. I don't know if that made any sense, but it should look something kind of like this when it's done, and then you're just going to wait for it to soak in for 6 to 8 hours, then put it in the washing machine again, and you can take it out. And this is what it looks like. I know it's not perfect, but I still think it came out really cute. This next shirt is a super easy tie-dye ombre, and so all you're going to need for this is another plain white shirt, and you're just going to rubber band the middle or wherever you want the ombre to be. Then after you've already gotten it wet, go ahead and add the dye to the bottom or top part wherever you want the dye to be darkest. And then take a tub of water and add some more dye to the tub of water so that the color gets a little bit diluted. And then with the opposite half of the shirt, you're going to soak that in the diluted color. So you should have the lighter color on one half and then the darker color on the other half, and just make sure they're both super saturated. And then you're going to take it out of the dye let it sit for 6 to 8 hours, rinse it off, put it in the washing machine and let it dry, and this is what it came out to look like. You can keep it how it is or you can cut it, which I decided to cut it just a little bit shorter, and this is what it came out to look like. And I know a lot of these you really don't have to cut shorter, but I have a really short torso, so a lot of shirts don't look good on me unless I cut them a little bit shorter. Okay, so finally for this last shirt, it's actually a lot easier than it looks. And to do this, we're going to be using ice tie-dye. So I'm just taking a little shoebox and I'm kind of scrunching my shirt on the lid of the shoebox, as you can see, and then I'm adding a bunch of ice cubes on top, and this is kind of what makes the whole ice cube tie-dye design. Then instead of using the actual dye, we're just using the powder from the dye, and I'm going to be kind of sprinkling this on top of the ice cubes and getting it somewhat on the shirt and a lot of the ice cubes. You can add as much or as little as you want. And I did a few different colors, and then you're just going to kind of wait for the ice cubes to melt, and as you can see, as it melts, the color starts soaking into the shirt and it starts looking really cool. Then once all the ice cubes are melted and it's been 6 to 8 hours, you can go ahead and put it in the washing machine, and when I took it out, this is what it looks like. I think it looks pretty cool, and I am just cutting it to make it a little bit shorter, and I cut off the sleeves and the neck as well. Then I decided to make it a kind of little graphic tee, so I wanted to write weirdo on it just for fun, so I just used a Sharpie and wrote that in my best handwriting. And then I also wanted to add a little lace to the bottom, so I turned the shirt inside out, and then using some glue, I used E6000 glue, but you could use fabric glue, or you could sew it, or you could use hot glue if you even want to. And I'm just adding the lace along the inside, as you can see, so it kind of sticks out from the bottom. And then when you turn it back right side in, it looks super cute, and I really like the way this one came out. So I hope you guys liked this video, and I hope it helped you get a little bit excited for back to school, even though I'm not super excited. It'll still be fun to see friends and wear new clothes. And so if you guys did enjoy this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Also, you can subscribe to my channel by clicking this button right here, and check out my social media on the side, and you can watch one of my other videos down below by clicking one of these. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you all later. Bye!